I have opened the brachas.
Zayin Amid Aleph. Here we go. So the discussion, we're going to do a very quick chazara, and then we're going to start the new Gemara. We're going to start from Vav and Beis, 3 lines from the bottom, and the question is, V'oisei tefach heichan ma'amidai. Where do we place, one second. Where do we place that tefach? Says the Gemara, as the picture shows, 2 walls a little bit sticking out. What do you mean on the top of Zayin Amid Aleph? We're stuck in the floor. Zayin Amid Aleph, why don't you put it on a diagonal? Shasig Rav was quiet, which we said l'chayra means he was maskim. Itranami Amar Shmuel Shmei Levi. Shmuel says the name of Levi, the same thing. So opinion number 1 is, what do we do with the tefach? We place it, we have it sticking out. Beautiful. Rav Simon, and what we have to remember is Rav Simon is going to constantly be the machmir over here. Rabbi Simon, v'yitem Rav Shimon Levi Amar, oiseh lo tefach soichek. They make an expanded tefach. What is an expanded tefach? We'll call it 1.1. Now one little tefach, a little bit bigger. Why do you need a little bit bigger? We stand within 3 tvachim of the wall. And therefore what? So what do you have? A 4 tefach wall. What's 4 tvachim? The majority of 7 tvachim. Part A. Part B. Amar Rav Yehuda comes in Rav Yehuda. What if you take your 2 walls and instead of placing them like this, you place them like this? Kisheira says Gemara. Vayisa tefach ma'amidai, and that last tefach, where do you place it? Says Rav Yehuda, lechol ruach sheyirtza. Wherever you want, you can place the tefach. Rav Simon v'tiver Shumen Levi Amar again. Rabbi Simon, the machmir, he comes along and he says, no, don't put 1 little tefach. Before, what did he say? Put 1.1 tefachim within 3 tefachim, equaling 4 tefachim. What does he say here? Here he says, make a board 4 tefachim, umashu, and a little bit, umamidai, and stand it, within 3 of your walls, samuch le'tayf, near the wall. Period. So you have a board that's 4 within 3 equals 7 tefachim. The obvious kasha is, why in the first case did Rabbi Simon say a 1 and a little bit plus 3, 4 tefachim, and here he says 4 plus 3, 7 tefachim. Mashnos, and the Gamer Sayyid Mashna the Gamer Bayi Bazar Ba. Answers the Gemara, and this really concludes what we did last week. I should say Monday. Over there you have 2 proper walls. Therefore, it's enough with a little bit. Why? Because they're separated. And that's the end of a quick 3-minute chazar. Amar Rava. Rava comes along, and Rava says, no, you got it all wrong. What are we trying to do again? We're trying to figure out the 3rd wall. We have either 2, or we have 2, and we have to figure out either the 3rd is over here, the 3rd is over here, the 3rd is a little bit across. You have like this, the 3rd is up here, all different variables. Says Rava, you need something else. Ve'enoi niteres, and it's not mutter, it doesn't work. Ella b'tzuras ha'pesach. Says Rava, you know what you need a doorpost. A tzuras ha'pesach. If you look in your pictures, picture this one. The last picture is a tzuras ha'pesach. What's a tzuras ha'pesach? Then instead of having 1 stick of a tefach, you have 2 sticks of a tefach or something. We'll see what that means. And you put a string across it. Tzuras ha'pesach is a doorpost, a doorway. So, which, by the way, Rava, if you conceptualize, makes a lot of sense. Says Rava, we know you need to have 3 walls, but we also know you could have 2 and a little bit. Says Rava, you know what we're going to do? That little bit with a string makes a halachic 3rd wall. Beautiful. That's what Rava says. Now the question is Rava in addition to what we've been saying or in exchange to what we've been saying? What does that mean? That was in English. Let's look at the Gemara. Ika di Amri, says the Gemara. Some say Amar Rava, Vini Teres, Nami b'tzuras haPesach, that it also works. Either you could do what we've been talking about, which is what? Have your tefach, or you could do a doorpost. Ikadiamri, and for the contrast, you'll understand very well. Amarava, utzricha nami. But the Rav is being machmir. And Rav is saying it doesn't work with just a tefach. Utzricha nami, you also need a tzuras haPesach. So either Rava is giving another suggestion, or what Rava is giving another requirement. Says the Gemara. Before we actually go into the next thing, which is going to be a story, just to do our math, if we get all our shitas down pat, what do we have? We have two like this. Either you need to have Rav one little bit sticking out, or you need to have Rav Simon, which is 1.1 within 3 tvachim. We have Rav Yehuda, two walls like this. Either you need to have one little bit sticking out, or Rav Simon said you need 4 tvachim within 3. And now Rav is coming along and saying either you could exchange everything we've been talking about and put up a tzuras haPesach, or Rav is saying in addition to that little bit, you also need a string tzuras haPesach.
On the fourth side.
No, on that same side, just not just
from wherever.
Correct. Not just that. The easy way to understand it is that if you also need it, he's telling you take that tefach, and in addition to that, put a string. Whereas the first opinion way of learning it, the Rav is just saying not take that tefach and put a string, saying you could also do the string. It would seem you don't even need a tefach. It would seem that you need a string with a stick, but maybe that stick doesn't have to be a tefach.
So according
That's what it would seem.
In a sukkah, so you can melt it. You just need a string.
Oh, interesting. Maybe we're going to see something very similar to that. Let's see. That happens to be that last line is a shtickle machlokes. How do we accomplish what the Gemara said? The Gemara just said, Rava says it could work also, but he didn't tell us how. Let's see a little bit further. We'll have a little more clarity. Rav Ashi. Ashkechel Rav Kahana. Rav Ashi found Rav Kahana to Ka'ava Tefach Seichik. Rav Ashi found Rav Kahana and he did a Tefach Seichik. 1.1. V'kavet Tzuras Pesach. And he also did a Tzuras Pesach. Amar lei. Rav Ashi said, Lo Yisrael Amar Lo Had Rava. Do you not hold of Rava, Damar Rava, and Teres, and Nami, Tzuras Pesach? That a Tzuras Pesach is enough? You don't need both? Amar lei. He responded, Ano ke'idach lishtad Rava svirli. I hold of the other Rava. What's the other Rava? Damar Rava, Tricha Nami, Tzuras HaPesach, that you need both. And that's really the end of the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't really speak out this last line. If you look over here, you see there is a bit of Rashi trying to figure out really your question, which is when Rava said that a Tzuras HaPesach works, what exactly did Rava mean? Did he mean take one tefach, split the tefach in half? Did he mean you don't need a tefach at all? Like you said in the case of a thing, you can just put a string. That is a beautiful point of debate. So let's begin the next Gemara. The next Gemara is a drop more difficult, but the beginning of it is very easy in Gishmak. So that's what we're going to do right now. Shtayim kil chasen, right? That's what we've been talking about. How many walls you need? 2 in a little bit. Amar Rava, says Rava, v'chein l'Shabbos. This halacha works for Shabbos. What does that mean? Migu. Now here the word migu is used in its pure form, which just the word means since. Migu davi doifen linyan sukkah. Since it's a wall for sukkahs, have a doifen le'inyan Shabbos. What does that mean? For example, you have 2 walls like this, or like this, and you put that extra little wall at the side of it. What is this? That's a kosher sukkah. On Shabbos Parshas Truma, if this is sitting outside your house and you're in Flatbush, can you carry inside this area over here? So on one hand, you say, that's ridiculous, Rabbi. That's not called a Rosh Hashanah. That's called you got 2 walls and a little bit. Says Rava, what do you mean? If it works for Sukkos, migu that it works for Sukkos, it works for Shabbos. Now, before we go further, I just want to give a little 1 dot of background to make it a little bit easier. When I tell you that it works for Shabbos, there's 2 things that can mean. It could mean either Shabbos of Sukkos, meaning Sukkah for 7 days, I'm in this Sukkah, what are you doing Shabbos? So on one hand you could say, well, you can't carry there. It's a Sukkah. Sleep there. Maybe chill there. You can't pick up anything. Why not? Because it's not you're outdoors. Or on the other end, you could say, Rabbi, that's ridiculous. If I can make a leishiv asukah here, if I'm yoytze my mitzvah, of course I could carry. That's one level of chiddush. That it works on Shabbos of Sukkot. Now the next level of chiddush is, wait, not only does it work on Shabbos of Sukkot, but it works all Shabbosim because it has a halachic status of a rishus. And as you realize, that's of course a chiddush on steroids to say that. Rava's statement that he said was v'chein l'Shabbos. Migu, since it works over here, it works for Shabbos. Now, we don't know what that means. That's what the Gemara is going to develop right now. Let's continue a job further. Says the Gemara, Esvei Abayi asks Abayi to Rava, Mi Amrina Migu? Really? Do we say this Migu? Well, Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, Doifen Sukkah ke Doifen Shabbos. A wall of a Sukkah is like the wall of Shabbos. Ubilvad, and provided Shelo yehi bein kana lechavera, they cannot be between each beam and its friend. Now this is silly. This is silly. We're not going to start this because this rather starts a whole can of worms. Which to open it and not close it is pashtus abrachal v'atol. So we're gonna no. Unless we're gonna go for the next 12 minutes. So let's not do that. We're gonna stop over here. I'll pick it up from here next.